first thing we need to start to understand when we're learning to work with code and to think visually with code is the importance of properties. Properties quite clearly are something we use in art and design all the time. Scale, colour, position, etc, etc. So we need to know how to manipulate those and how to translate those into code. In the last video you saw that we controlled first of all the size of the page, the canvas as they call it was sitting on, and here we were using a unit, and we were using the unit of pixels. So we can increase the size by increasing the number of pixels, and as you saw we can just play that and you can see now that's 500 pixels and 600 pixels. The other thing you saw was that I drew a rectangle over here, and in there I've got some values placed in. So what is built into the P5 library is the ability to call up these things called functions, and each thing in blue is a separate function. So there was a function to draw the canvas, and that required two possible what we call arguments of width and height. Background has an argument for colour, which we will discuss in the next video, which is an important property. Our arguments to draw a rectangle are its position and its width and height. So what we need to do is understand what we mean by position in terms of a computer, and then how that translates into what we're doing here. So on a computer screen, we just jump across here. We're effectively using a Cartesian coordinate system. So you're familiar with the idea of X going across the way and Y going up and down. So what we're doing when we use a system on a computer is we actually start our 0 point up here. So we go from 0 up here, and then we go across, and we go Y going down. So you could imagine this is a computer screen. Because we can still have, as we'll see in a minute, we can still have negative space where we move off screen. And that can be very, very useful, certainly in animation, as we're going to see. So we need to understand how to place things within this space. And effectively what's happening is this is obviously counting up, and we count across in pixels up and down. Yeah? So this would be position 1, 1. This would be position 2, 2, 2, 3. But because we're working in pixels, we need to scale that right the way down. So over here, if we were to put in 0 and 0, effectively that's going to take us right up to the edge. And as I said before, we can work in minus. So we go minus 20. That's now going to start moving off of the screen, as opposed to going up to 100, which will move it 100 pixels across the screen, and so on and so on. So that's fairly straightforward. I hope you can see that's now positioning our rectangle on the screen. Let's draw another shape. We're going to use the ellipse function, and again we need to set its X and Y position and its width and height. You can see here that I'm going to be drawing a circle because the width and height is going to be the same. And so when I draw it, you'll see now a circle has appeared. So this is an opportunity to have a look at how the position is being recorded, i.e. the registration point in both the rectangle and the circle. You can see that first of all the circle is drawn on top of the rectangle because that's the order of code. So over here it starts with the background, draws the rectangle, then it draws the ellipse which is now on top of the rectangle. But you'll see that I've used the same X position and Y position for both of them. You can see with the ellipse that the recorded position or the registration point is in the middle, whereas for the rectangle it's in the top left hand corner. So I'm going to use a thing called comments. This is just going to stop the code running by putting a couple of comments in the front, so rerun it again. So you can see now that my X and Y at 100 and 200 is recorded in the top left hand corner, and with the ellipse it's in the center. We can change that, but we won't go into that just now. We can have our recording position for our rectangle in the middle if we want as well, but by default it's set to go in the top left hand corner. So if I was to move this across or down 200 and play it, you can now see it's moved to a different position. Let's have a little look at how we draw a line. So the line function, we have to type in the word line. For this we have to start with an X and Y and finish with an X and Y. So now what's happening with this, we are starting with 0, 0 is the first point on the line, and the second point is going to be at 200, 200. So you can see there it's actually drawn right to the center of our circle there, and you can see that the line now is on top of our ellipse. So that's an introduction to using pixels for dimensions and understanding the position on the screen.